Hey folks, Brendan here from Bluelight again with another video stroke podcast that's going to help support you in the police recruitment process. I've been doing this now for 26 years, helping people to succeed in the police interviews for specialist posts, for promotion boards, and for the past 11 years I've been helping people to succeed in the police recruitment process. So there's not much that I don't know about the process. Now, one of the things that you're going to have to do if you're in the police recruitment process in England and Wales is you've got to do the National Assessment Centre. It's all online, which means it's incredibly easy to pass. It's just a big game that the College of Policing have created for you. It involves an interview, a stage 3 written exercise, and a stage 3 briefing exercise. And in this video podcast, I'm going to focus on the briefing exercise. This is where they're going to present you with a scenario which is about a noisy party. I know the PCSOs, specials and regular police officers out there will be thinking, police don't deal with noisy parties. No, they don't. Remember, you're in College of Policing world here. You're in Sanford. You're in Hot Fuzz land. Is it Hot Fuzz? Was that the film? I got a mental block. Anyway, Sanford. If you've been in long enough, you'll know all about Sanford. Anyway, stage 3 briefing exercise, they're going to give you a very vague set of circumstances to do with a noisy party, and they're going to ask you 12 questions about it. You don't know what each one of those questions is ahead of time. They'll ask you the first question. You won't know what the second question is until you've given your 3-minute answer. And then you'll get the second question. And after 4 questions, they'll develop the scenario a little bit. And after another 4 questions, they'll develop the scenario a little bit. So what I thought I'd do in this video stroke podcast is I'd give you a bit of an insight into the sort of things that you can cover. Where does this come from? Well, the other day I ran a webinar for the Online Assessment Centre course number 11 of 2022 for Bluelight clients who all are going to pass. They're all going to pass their Online Assessment Centre. They're all determined to do the work. They're all putting the hard work in. They are going to pass. I guarantee it. Actually, I do guarantee it. If you do the hard work and you don't pass, I'll give you a full refund. How fair is that? Check the links below for the Facebook groups, the online courses, everything you need to succeed in this process. So anyway, back to the learning. So what I thought I'd do is I'd share with you 5 things that came out of our practice session. We use this, it's my sample briefing exercise. It's well worn, lots of notes on it. But this is the one I provide for you. It's a sample noisy party exercise. I'm told it's not a million miles away from the actual College of Policing exercise. Well, it won't be, because there's only so many questions it can ask you about how you would deal with a noisy party involving young people. So let's take a look at 5 things that are going to be able to help you, support you in your preparation, because the last thing you want to be doing is your stage 3 briefing exercise, going into it cold, going into it without knowing what to say and just mumbling 1-minute answers when you've got 3 minutes to fill. You don't have to fill the 3 minutes, but if you want a really high score, go for it. And why is a high score important? Well, because it's starting to get competitive out there now. Again, to get into police, we've had the 20,000 uplift. Most forces now are recruiting for dates beyond March 2023. The 20,000 uplift was people having to have bums on the seats by the end of March. A lot of forces now have already recruited into March 2023, so we're going to see a decline in the number of officers being recruited nationally. Prior to the 20,000 uplift, it was about 8,000 a year would get recruited. It would vary between 7,000 and 8,000. It would hover around that depending on how many people left, how many people resigned or retired, and you can kind of predict those numbers. You know when people are going to retire because you know the age they're going to retire at. You can kind of predict it. So most forces, it was around 7,000 or 8,000. With the 20,000 uplift, they've been recruiting about 15,000, 16,000 a year. That's going to fall off a cliff edge. And so it's going to get more competitive, folks, which means you need to get high scores to make sure you go through to the next stage. So anyway, here's the 5 things for you. Number 1, your ability to talk about the type of questions that you're going to ask. So the first set of questions you may get asked by the College of Policing in respect of the noisy party incident is just about what information would you require and where are you going to get that information from. The key to getting information is being able to ask good questions. So we look at 5WH, but we also break it down into 5WH in a simple to complex way. 5WH is just your open questions: who, what, where, why, when, how. Did I get them all in there? But whenever I ask people to outline what they are, they come in all sorts of different orders. We look at asking those questions in a simple to complex way. And we break it up into catalytic questions, cathartic questions, why we ask those style of questions, how we're going to listen carefully to the people involved, and the different strands we can go to get that information. So once you've got that in your head, you can come up with a bit of a template where you can answer any question. Doesn't matter what the scenario is, you can answer any question about how you're going to get information from a variety of different sources, and there's only a certain number of sources you can get that information from. So that's the first top tip: use open questions and use your 5WH. Second top tip, this actually came from one of my clients who said that, who's actually been there, he's already done it, he failed it, and then he came to Bluelight, he's going to pass it this time. And without breaching any confidentiality, he said, the questions are really general. Does that mean our answers have got to be really general? And what he meant was the questions are very vague. Does that mean our answers have got to be vague? No, it means that you can fill your 3 minutes with really specific mark scoring stuff. So it gives you a real opportunity. This, if they're asking a vague question, it means that as long as you're guiding your answer around the competency and values framework and what's required of you and the behaviours, and don't worry, I've taken care of that, you don't need to even look at the CVF. Do my course, you don't need to look at the CVF, because I'll show you what you need to do to pass. You don't have to worry about the behaviours, because the behaviours will just fall out of the sky. So, general question, you're going to give a specific answer, a really, really specific answer. This involves having scripts, and it involves having to learn your script. And that's no different from policing. I worked this out years ago as a police officer. In my first year or so, I worked this out, that actually just about everything you deal with, you can have a script for it. So it doesn't matter what scenario you're presented with, you use a well-trodden script. Okay, sometimes you have to vary it, but for the most part, just give you an example, if you're dealing with a drink driver, I can still remember it now. I'm not going to bore you with it, but the script I'd use from stopping the motor vehicle all the way to booking the prisoner in with Sarge at the custody office, it would be the same set of scripts every time. How could I remember them? I've been out policing for 8 years now. Well, because I learned them. They're ingrained in my head. They'll always be there. The exact words I used 30-something years ago, I could still use now. So having a script for your online assessment centre is no different to policing. Does that make sense? All right, number 3. A lot of what you're going to be dealing with is to do with safeguarding and the welfare of young people. There's certain things that you can do to ensure that 1, you score really high marks, and 2, that you're reflecting what you do operationally when dealing with young people who may be vulnerable for a variety of different reasons. We're going to utilise 3 principles that spill out of so many serious case reviews where young people have died an untimely death because they've been murdered by their relatives. 3 principles that we're going to utilise in order to ensure that we safeguard properly and look after the welfare of those individuals. And I'll share what those are with you in the second video. Yes, there's going to be a second video after this one, but it's only for my clients. It's only for members of the Online Assessment Centre course and the Online Assessment Centre course plus webinars. So I'm going to share with you more of my ideas around that, but like I said, it'll be in the second video that comes after this one, just for clients. And if you want to be one of those clients, then check the links below. I even give you a 24-hour breathing space guarantee that if within 24 hours you think the course I've just bought, this is just not for me, just drop me a line. Within 24 hours, drop me a line, and no questions asked, I'll give you a full refund. How fair is that? That's how confident I am it's going to help you. I've only given, I think, 2 refunds over the past year. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Number 4, okay, you might have to deal with people who don't want you to be there in terms of the noisy party scenario. So how are you going to deal with them? Well, we can go that way or that way, either not deal with them at all or be really strict and this is exactly what's going to happen, I'm going to require you to do things. Or we can do what I think they're asking you to do, which is to find some kind of compromise, some kind of negotiated outcome that is going to appease most of the parties there. So compromise, negotiation, how we're going to do it. Again, in the video that follows this one, I will share with my clients some really good techniques to ensure that you put yourself in the shoes of others and that you enable other people to put themselves in the shoes of others. This is a key starting point in terms of any negotiation or compromise, and it will score you a really, really high mark. Number 5, the use of CUDSA. So if we're dealing with people who don't want us to be there or are antagonized by us being there or are presenting themselves as being anti-police or they think the police are being anti-party, whatever it might be, then we're going to deal with them using the non-contact conflict management model, which is from the police service called CUDSA. This stands for confront, understand, define and summarize, seek solutions, assess and monitor, and result. So again, in my second video, I'll talk to you about how you would utilize CUDSA. And of course, with all of these things, I've mapped them out against the behaviors within the competency and values that you're going to be assessed against, which for this exercise, the noisy party scenario, is public service, emotionally aware, take ownership, innovative and open-minded. I even provide you with a marking guide. How cool is that? Everything you need. And that's what we worked through in our webinar. By the end of it, the confidence levels went from about 2 or 3, where 0 is I'm just not confident at all in dealing with this briefing. 10 is I'm super confident. We went from about a 2 or a 3 at the very beginning to about an 8 or a 9 at the very end, and a 9 or a 10 is what people said they'd be once they started practicing the scripts that I introduced them to in the webinar. So come and join us, folks. Come and join us. I'd love to have you on the webinars, to meet with you, help to support you all the way through the process to success. Get yourself past this online assessment centre. If you're applying to a force where this is all you have to do, then hey, happy days. It's not your fault that the force doesn't want to speak to you before you actually join. I still can't get my head around it. Hampshire, Thames Valley, Merseyside Police, although I think that's temporary, West Midlands Police, Avon and Somerset Police. I know you all say that the assessment process is rigorous, but honestly, my 14-year-old could pass this process and she'd get a really high mark as well. I would ensure that by coaching her, teaching her how to pass the test. It's not how it should be. It really isn't how it should be, but it is, and I think it's really sad that it is. Anyway, for other forces that have another layer of assessment after this, then good for them, because they're actually asking you questions about what motivates you, what your values are, what's important to you, what challenges do you think you will face as a police officer. They're really trying to get inside your heart in terms of what's important to you, and good for them that they're doing that. For the forces who are just accepting you based on the online assessment centre, seriously, honestly, in 2 years' time, you're going to so regret this. You're going to have cases of individuals who are going to cause all sorts of scandals, and the media are going to get hold of it, and they're going to ask you difficult questions about why you didn't speak to them in person before they joined the police. Yes, to be a police officer. This is, get off your soapbox, Brendan. This is a podcast video about something else. Anyway, come and join us. I'll show you how to pass this process. College of Policing, you need to get a bit of a grip really, College of Policing. This was a good excuse during COVID, but we're out of COVID now. You need to come up with something else that's more rigorous, that's more testing of people's values, because this just doesn't do it. Great for those of you who are still in the recruitment process, because it means that you've got a process that you can formulaically tick box your way through and pass. Like I said, it's not the way it should be. I don't accept that this is a good idea. I think it's completely bonkers, but the golden rule applies. Those who hold the gold make the rules. College of Policing hold the gold. They make the rules. You play by them. That's it. All right, folks. Well, listen, get off your soapbox, Brendan. I shall catch up you with the next podcast, next video, and hopefully see some of you very, very soon on one of my webinars or one-to-ones or even face-to-face. I've started doing face-to-face coaching again, which is awesome. It's good to be back doing that. Catch you soon, folks. Bye-bye for now.